in respect of such a child to include a residential therapeutic order or a non-residential therapeutic order having regard to the results of a social inquiry report and a psychological or psychiatric report in respect of the child ordered by the court, and provide that a children's court before which any child is brought under Part 1 of the Act, other than a child alleged to have committed an offense, may order that the child be placed under the care of a children's officer for a specified period not exceeding 3 years, instead of a probation and aftercare officer as currently obtains under the Act. I am happy to report that once it is passed in Parliament, and we expect that in short order when Parliament resumes next week, the repeal of Section 24(2) will also enable Jamaica to become compliant with its obligations under notable international treaties on child justice and child rights, and establish a fairer and more equitable means of treating with cases involving children exhibiting behavioral challenges. However, beyond simply being compliant, by repealing Section 24 of the Child Care and Protection Act, Jamaica signals its continued commitment for promoting the best interests of the child. The debate on the repeal of Section 24 will open next Tuesday when Parliament convenes. So this morning, again, we want to continue to offer our congratulations to all 35,618 children in grade 6 who did the primary exit profile exam and are anticipating transition to high school. For the first time since the PEP exam started in 2019, we have been able to compare results on a like-for-like basis because in 2023, the recent exam, our PEP students sat all components of the grade 6 test, as did the cohort in 2019. It is worth repeating the results because it shows improvements. These are the children who were in grade 2 in 2019. They spent most of their school life so far in the virtual world, 2020, 2021, and a part of 2022. They understand mixed modality and can easily pivot between the two. These are the children of resilience, and so we congratulate them wholeheartedly. Again, when we look at the results for math, science, social studies, and language arts, comparing 2019 to 2023, for maths, it was 21% of the children in the proficient or highly proficient category, compared with 57% in 2023. For science, it was 49% in 2019, compared with 64% in 2023. And for social studies, which as you know includes subjects like history, geography, economics, civics, that was 63% in 2019 and 67% in 2023 of students who are in the proficient or highly proficient category. And language arts, 55% in 2019 compared with 60% in 2023 of children who were in the proficient or highly proficient category. We also know that 85.8% of the cohort of PEP students got into a school that was among their 7 choices. I know there's been questions about the PATH students, and we looked at how PATH students compare in terms of getting into schools of their choice. And we can report that among PATH students, the percentage was a little higher. 89.4% of students on PATH got one of their 7 choices. We will continue to use the PEP results to bring targeted support to those students who need it. We have excellent information that we will utilize to improve the results even more than what we're showing in 2023. I move on to the significant work that we've been doing on the infrastructure front. Coming out of the pandemic, we're seriously targeting the infrastructure of our schools to bring them up to higher standards. Our first target, while obviously we continue to do the day-to-day maintenance work, is to take all 38 schools that are on shift to take them off of shift. These are schools that, as an administration, we inherited on coming into office. As of June 2023, 5 of the 38 high schools have been operating off shift. We need to follow through with the gazetting of those schools to make them officially off shift, and this will be done. Additionally, Black River High School will be off shift come September of 2023. Bridgeport High School, we broke ground for the construction for additional classrooms, and they will be off shift come September of 2024. There will be groundbreaking for Homewood Technical High School next month in July. Well, tomorrow is the end of June, so anytime after tomorrow. And that will be followed by Exchange High School in St. Anne, Cedric Titus, and Albertown High in Trelawney, in terms of the work that will be following. And we'll publish a list of high schools and update it from time to time so Jamaicans can keep abreast with what we're doing. And finally, I want to turn to technology. Technology and infrastructure are big pillars of transformation in the Orlando Patterson Education Transformation Report. So I'm delighted to report as well that 173 high schools, which represent all of our high schools, they have received 9,298 high-quality laptops to replace their aged computers in their technology labs. That's an average of about 54 laptops per school. Obviously, that's an average. Bigger schools will get more, smaller schools get less. Each of our high schools, wherever they are in Jamaica, must give our students opportunities to continue their learning about technology, and they must get the experience with technology. Additionally, our schools must prepare our students for e-testing for the exams that CXC will deliver, and I believe by 2025, yes, they will be transitioning to e-testing. You know already that we started some time ago to have all our teachers outfitted with laptops as well. To date, 16,053 e-vouchers have been issued to teachers to allow them to go to one of the approved vendors to redeem the e-voucher for a laptop. We will continue our work to get our schools connected with access to the internet as well. And by the end of this fiscal year, we're expecting a little over 600 schools, representing about 2/3 of our schools, to have broadband connectivity, and the work will continue to ensure there's equity of technology in all of our schools, thus allowing us to significantly reduce, if not eliminate, the digital divide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister, you mentioned Section 24. What does that mean for Jamaica?
It means that children who are brought before the court by their parent or guardian, traditionally the parent or guardian may feel that they don't have control over the child, and they want the courts to give some direction. And normally, under the current law, when parent or guardian brings the child into court, many times that child would be sent to an adult correctional center. And so we have children in our adult lockups, which as a nation, we cannot just continue to have. Not, if we, just as a nation, even without the fact that we are signatory to international conventions. And so this repeal of Section 24, again, the amended bill was laid in Parliament. We'll move into the debate phase and move it from the lower house to the upper house. But once it is passed, this will allow the courts the option, right, to send the child to a residential or non-residential therapeutic center. So that absolutely. Come next week, Prime Minister will be opening brand new, state-of-the-art, never been done in Jamaica before, non-residential therapeutic center.
Where is that?
At Maxfield Park, on the property of Maxfield Park Children's Home.
Okay.
Right, and then we also have a residential therapeutic center in St. Anne that's ready, waiting, staff in place.
Is that the newly renovated one in Windsor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Minister Williams, for a wonderful presentation on the education system. Is there any further comment you'd like to make on the PEP results? I understand that there was improvements.
Yes, I went through those. I can go again.
I would love for you to reiterate it.
I'll do that anytime. So when we look at the curriculum-based test, which includes maths, science, social studies, and language arts, we compared the results in 2023 versus those of 2019, because it's the first time we're able to compare on a like-for-like basis. So maths in 2019, we saw 41% of our students in the proficient or highly proficient category. That compares with 57% in 2023. And in science, 49% in the proficient or highly proficient category in 2019 versus 64% in 2023. Social studies, again, social studies include subjects like history, geography, economics, civics, 63% in 2019 in the proficient or highly proficient category versus 67% in 2023, and in language arts, 55% in 2019 in the proficient or highly proficient category versus 60% in 2023. And we will continue to build on those results, given the very good information we have coming out of the primary exit profile about each child and where each child is in his or her development.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I suspect that we are at an end of our post-cabinet press briefing. I want to thank you for attending, and also members of your ministry for this important update on the education system. Until next week, we will be here again exactly at 8 a.m. for another post-cabinet press briefing. Thank you very much.
Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. Educate yourself.
Welcome students to Student Camps 2022, our exam preparation series. Today we're looking at the curriculum-based test for PEP Science. Let's get to it. Before we get started, just a few reminders. We want you to consider using your reasoning skills for any question that you're tackling. Remember, use the information given. Take your time to correctly interpret the question. What is it asking me to do? Now, in many cases, you may be given different options. So examine the options to determine which is most suitable. And of course, your answer must be based on evidence. Above all, remember to analyze and interpret the information given in the question. Okay, let's look at our first question. Now, this question is based on the unit on light. So we're shown a diagram, and again, we want to look carefully at the diagram. We see some rays of light hitting a surface. And what do you notice about the rays of light? It seems as if they are bouncing off, and they're bouncing off at different angles, right? So this surface is allowing the light to be bounced off at different angles. Now, what property of light would this depict? Is it absorption? Are the rays being absorbed? Is it refraction? Remember, what is refraction? Refraction is bending. So, are the light rays being bent in that particular case? Would it be scattering? Or would it be reflection? That is the answer. So, the light rays are being reflected. Question 2. Here we have an investigation, and the student is looking at 4 different rubber bands, okay? And they are being stretched across pieces of sticks, and notice the diagram. Let's look at the diagram carefully. Rubber band A, B, C, and D, right? And they're stretched, and we can see that the length of the bands are changing. Okay, so the statement says a student plucked each rubber band with equal force and observed that rubber band D produced the sound with the highest pitch. So before we move any further, we need to remember what is the pitch of a sound. What is the pitch of a sound? Right, the pitch denotes how high or how low the sound is. Not how loud it is, but how high or how low the sound is. So can you imagine if you have a rubber band stretched as far as possible and you pluck that rubber band compared to one that is barely stretched, which do you think would give you the lowest sound or the highest sound? And that is what we refer to as the pitch. So let's see. What conclusion can be made about rubber band D? So look at rubber band D. Is it that it is the longest? Remember, conclusion is using your observation to come up with some sort of summary, right? So stating that it is the longest, is that a conclusion? We can see that from the picture, but is that a conclusion? No. So is it that rubber band D weighs the most? Obviously, again, remember, you can eliminate the answer that is way out. So B is certainly way out. So we're left with A and C. So when I stretch rubber band D, remember it's stretched the furthest, do you think I would get a high sound, right, or a low sound? And from your experience, is it that it is vibrating fast or it's vibrating slowly? Exactly. We think that rubber band D being stretched the furthest is going to vibrate the fastest, and that is why we would get the highest pitch from rubber band D. Excellent. All right, we're now looking at sound, and we're looking at the continuous honking of car horns along with the sounds coming from mufflers of cars and bikes is best classified as, and notice we have circled the word best. So we're looking at the best answer. So some of those answers can work, but which is the best answer? Would that be classified as high-pitched sounds? Who knows? Maybe. But is it the best answer? Would that be classified as air pollution? Now, certainly that answer is way out, so we can almost take it out, right? Would that be classified as a warning noise? Remember, the question says the continuous honking of horns. So we're thinking of something that keeps on getting on our nerves, right? Okay, so it means that our best answer is noise pollution. Great. A diamond sparkling in a brightly lit room could be classified as what type of object? Now, before we even start to look at our answers, it would be good to remind ourselves what a diamond looks like. Now, can you envision a diamond in your mind? Okay, what are some properties of that diamond? Well, certainly it is transparent. Yes, no, in the options given, transparent is not an option. So we know that the diamond is transparent. Yes, that means that light will pass through it in all kind of directions, right, making it sparkle. Now, is it that the diamond produces the light of itself? Is it a luminous object? Can it produce light, or it just reflects the light? Is it an opaque object? No, we just said that the diamond is transparent. So it is not opaque, and it would not be classified as translucent, which is that it allows only some light to pass through. So our best answer would be that diamond, although it sparkles, it is non-luminous. It does not produce its own light. Great job. And now for our final question. Now, as you notice, this question is filled with information. All right? We have a table showing 4 different locations. So I would advise you to take your time and to look carefully at what is given. You have 4 different locations. You're given information on average rainfall for these 4 different locations. And you're shown also the mass of freshly fallen and rotten leaves, and that's given in kilograms. And in the final column, rotten leaves in kilograms. Okay, so before we even start to look at the question, let us see if we can find any patterns, any trends, all right? So in our 4 locations, what is changing for 4 locations? So if we look at the rainfall, right, we see that that rainfall is increasing from location 1 to location 4. Okay, so we have established that there is a change in rainfall. So it means that that would affect the 3rd column and the 4th column, which looks at the number or the mass of fallen and rotten leaves. So as you can see, is there a trend in the 3rd column? So what we do see is that except for the first location, the amount of fallen and rotten leaves seems to be decreasing, yes, with the rainfall. Okay, so that's one observation. What about the rotten leaves in column 4? Is that increasing? So when the rainfall was 123, the mass was 5. When the rainfall was 226, so almost doubled, the mass was 200. When the rainfall was 286, the mass of rotten leaves is 150. And when it increased by another almost 100 millimeters, the mass was still 150. Okay, so we're going to use that information to make to determine whether the statements given are true or not, whether we agree or disagree. Okay, so we have already analyzed our table. Now let's look at the question. We're given 2 statements and we're asked to indicate whether we agree or disagree with the statements based on the information in the table. So the first statement says, if the average rainfall for location 4 is 400 millimeters, the percentage mass of rotten leaves will increase. Do we agree or disagree with that statement? Now let's look at the statement a little more carefully. Now, if we just analyze, we may think that it's just asking us for the mass of rotten leaves, in which case we would disagree. However, it says the percentage mass of rotten leaves. And so, if we're looking at percentage mass, which is the amount of rotten leaves over the total, as the rainfall increases, the percentage mass of rotten leaves actually increases. All right? And so our answer for the first statement would be that we would agree with that statement. So our answer is A. Now let's look at the second statement. If location 3 experiences a severe drought, the percentage of rotten leaves would most likely increase. Again, the key word we're looking at is the percentage and most likely increase. So, location 3 has a good amount of rainfall. If it experiences drought, and notice it says severe drought, it means the rainfall would decrease significantly. Now look at the amount of rotten leaves compared to the total amount of leaves. Would the percentage mass of rotten leaves increase? Highly unlikely, because we see that there's very little rotten leaves when the rainfall is below 200 millimeters. So our answer would be B. We would actually disagree with that statement. All right, so I hope you have done a lot of work. You have seen what it takes to prepare for your examinations. And so we want to wish you all the best on your exams, and join us next time on our exam preparation series, Student Camps 2022. Good luck.
My name is Alfonso Grenell, Managing Director of Grenell's Driving School. June is Road Safety Awareness Month, and today we'll be discussing the importance of child restraint. Once a child is younger than 12, then they should always sit in the back of the vehicle in the appropriate restraint, whether it be a child seat or a booster seat. Children, once they are standing between the two front seats, you don't even have to have a crash for them to receive serious injury if they are thrown forward against the dashboard. Children are known to have died from injuries received by hitting their head against the back of the front seats because they did not have on their child safety seat. Also, children who sit in the front seat who are not old enough, they can be hit by the airbag that is deployed with enough force to injure them or even kill them. Hence, children 12 and younger should always sit in the back of the vehicle.
Welcome students to another in our ability test preparation session. Today we will be looking at a series of questions to help you in your examination preparation. But before we get into the questions, let us remind you of a few things. The ability test calls for reasoning skills, and so you must ensure that with any question that is given, you use the information in the question to answer. Also, make sure that you correctly interpret the question. Now, in many cases, you may be given different answer options. And so look carefully at these options to determine the most suitable answer. And in all cases, your answer must be chosen based on the evidence provided in the question. Make sure, therefore, that you analyze and interpret the information given. Now, the ability test has different categories. We have categories under verbal and quantitative reasoning. For quantitative reasoning, you may be asked to identify a series of patterns, compare quantities, analyze data, and solve problems. In the verbal reasoning categories, you may be asked to classify objects based on their similarities, look for sequencing, and also to make logical deductions. So let's get to it. This is our first question. Now we're given 4 options and we're asked to determine which does not belong in the group. How will we tackle this question? Let us read the question. Which of the following does not belong in this group? We're given corn, kidney beans, lentils, and peanut. How would you approach this question? What should we be looking for? Let us see. The first thing we need to determine is what is similar or what is different about these options. So let's check it out. What is similar about corn, kidney beans, lentils, and the peanut? Of course, they're all foods. Now, is there anything that you can identify that will cause one of those options to be different? Kidney beans, lentils, and peanut, we know, can be classified as under the grouping of peas or beans and legumes, right? Good. What about corn? Can corn be placed in that group? Okay. Then therefore it means that corn does not belong to that group. Okay, that was easy, right? Let's try something more. Now, in this question, this is a question that calls for you to make deductions. We're given a key and we're asked to use that key to identify this penguin that is shown. So let us look at the information that is given. We're asked a number of questions. Does the penguin have tufts or feathers on its head? Is it shorter than 50 centimeters? Does it have white markings on its face? Is it taller than 70 centimeters? So let us look at a bit closer at this penguin. Let us look at what is shown here. What characteristics can be identified from the diagram? Are you looking closely? Well, at first we see that the height of this penguin seems to be about 45 centimeters. So we must remember this information. What else can you see? Well, on its face, it has a white marking. So let us go back to the key to see if we can identify which group this penguin belongs to. All right, let's look again. Now that we have identified the characteristics, we're going to look to see how to identify this penguin. So let's go back. Does it have tufts or feathers? If the answer is yes, notice that we would follow the arrow to go in that direction. If the answer is no, then we would go in the other direction. So did it have tufts or feathers on its head? No. So it means therefore that we follow the arrow that says no. And then our next question says, does it have white markings on its face? Did we see white markings? Yes. So we follow the arrow that says yes. And then we're told, based on the diagram, that this penguin is 45 centimeters. So the question, is it taller than 70 centimeters? Our answer would be no. Therefore, which penguin is it? What type of penguin is it? Let us see your answer. Is it a yellow-eyed penguin? Did you get a rock hopper penguin? What about the Galapagos penguin? Sorry. All right, you just start there, sir. Eh? I know, it's just, but all of a sudden my tongue just twists up. All right, so what type, yeah. What type of penguin did you want there, sir? Okay. What type of penguin did you find? Is it yellow-eyed penguin? Was it a rock hopper penguin? What about the Galapagos penguin or the Adelie penguin? Based on the diagram, the answer would definitely be C. All right, let's try another question. This one should be easier. We're told that a seed box had 12 tomato seeds planted. Some of these plants did not germinate. Now, if 9 plants germinated, the question we're asked is, what percentage of the plants did not germinate? So make sure that we're identifying that it's asking us for what did not germinate. We have different answers given. How would you approach this question? Now, obviously, if we had 12 seeds starting with and 9 germinated, we can do some subtraction, yes. And so we can identify that 3 of those plants did not germinate. But notice our answer is given in percentages. And so we must convert 3 out of 12 to a percent, right? What answer did you come up with? Right, 3 out of 12 is a quarter, and a quarter as a percentage is 25%. All right, let's continue. Let's look at another question. Now, the question given shows a diagram of a handrail that is used for a walkway at a school that is located 400 meters from the beach. Now, this is the information given. The horizontal bars each measure 2 meters, and the vertical bars each measure 90 centimeters. And the handrail is designed with 5 decorative stars. So we can look at that diagram and note that the horizontal bars, right, is going across, and that measures 2 meters. And the vertical bars, right, is going from top to bottom, and that measures 90 centimeters. And we can count the number of stars, and that would be 5. Now, the question that is asked is, if a student wants to use the same design to cover 6 meters, right, how many decorative stars would be needed? Remember, the bar had a total length of 2 meters. So what would you need to get 6 meters? You would need 3 times that length, right? And if at 2 meters we use 5 decorative stars, for 3 times that length, how many decorative stars would we need? Let's check our answer. Exactly, you should get 15 stars. Simply 5 multiplied by 3. Now, let's look at another question using the same handrail. Now, in this question, we're told that we're asked what is the total length of horizontal bars that's needed to make the 6-meter handrail. Sounds sort of fishy, right? Because we're told that the handrail is 6 meters. But notice it says what's the total length of horizontal bars. And if you look carefully at the diagram, what do you see? Let me see if you're paying attention. You will notice that there's a horizontal bar at the very top, and there is another horizontal bar at the bottom. And so they're asking us for the total length of horizontal bars. What do you think the answer would be? Let's check. Yes, the total length should now be 12 meters. And so remember, when you're given a question, you must make sure you look at all the information that is given. Let's try another question. A student is investigating the strength of different types of papers, and they're doing this by hanging different masses on the paper until it tears, and you can see that in the diagram. Now they're given, they're showing their results on a graph, and based on the graph, we can determine which paper is strongest. So let's examine the graph a bit closer. Now, when given a graph, right, we should try to see what information we can get from the graph. So on the y-axis, we're given the different masses that are hanged on these different papers. And on the x-axis, that's the one going across, we're shown the different papers. Now, based on that, which paper do you think would be the strongest? Would it be the one that held the most masses or the least masses? Right. The strongest paper should have the most hanging masses. And so, based on that diagram, we have newspaper, tissue paper, printer paper, and writing paper. So the writing paper had 4 masses, and hence the writing paper is the strongest. Very good. So that's all we have time for today. We wish you good luck on your examinations.
My name is Alfonso Grenell, Managing Director of Grenell's Driving School. June is Road Safety Awareness Month, and today we'll be discussing the proper use of a pedestrian crossing that is not controlled by light. First thing the pedestrian wants to do is to walk up to the pedestrian crossing, raise their hands, and make sure that they are identified by the motorist. Once the motorist identifies them and stop, then they step down into the road and move across the road. So the important thing is that both sides of the traffic must stop before they cross. And they should ensure that, and then they safely walk across the road. And that's how we should cross the road. Make sure that we're seen, make sure the motorists recognize us, and when we're recognized, then we will cross the road. If we do otherwise, we may be hit down by speeding or moving motorists. Very, very important that we obey this rule as we use a pedestrian crossing that is not controlled by a traffic light.
Remember, gambling is just a game. Choose to gamble responsibly. Set a budget, avoid chasing losses, and stop gambling when you reach your money limit. For gambling help, call RISE 888-991-4146. A message from the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission.
Welcome students to another in our ability test preparation series. Today we continue to look at questions to help in your examination preparations. Before we get into the questions though, we want to remind you of a few things. Remember to use the information given in the question so that you can correctly interpret what it's asking you to do. Again, examine all options given to determine the most suitable answer. And this answer must be chosen based on the evidence provided in the question. always analyze and interpret the information that is given. Now, the ability test that you will be doing will be testing your skills in quantitative and verbal reasoning.